So this video has been in the making for a little over 2 weeks now, and that's mainly because it took longer to get the footage that I needed. And although it's not exactly what I was looking for, I think it's good enough. Anyways, as the title suggests, this video is dedicated to Nita because I've been using her quite a lot recently, not so much in solo showdown but rather in Heist. Because in my opinion, I consider Nita to be the greatest brawler to use on Heist. And in this video I'll be playing through 4 different maps just to show how good she is. I'll also be using the same loadout throughout the video, so for my gadget I'll be using Bear Paws. My first gear is Pet Power, my second is Health, and last but definitely not least I'll be using Hyper Bear for my star power, which I consider to be the most important piece of the loadout. Also wanted to mention that although I don't have her at level 11 or have her hypercharge unlocked, it's not entirely necessary. You're gonna see that she's still really good even at this state. So the first map that we'll be playing on is Safer Zone, and with that said, let's get started. So trying to use Nita on a map like this can either turn out to be really good or really bad. That's mainly because there's only 2 ways to get to the other side, and that's of course through the middle or to the right. Now from my experience, it's really important to get to the right side as fast as possible because it offers more cover as well as a generally better angle to attack from. And since this team has both a Colt and a Chuck, it could be really devastating, especially if you go through the middle. Thankfully I had my super unlocked at this point, and I even used my gadget to stun this Colt, which worked out much better than I expected. I even managed to do it a second time, which ultimately allowed us to win the match. Alright, next up we're going to be playing on the Great Lake. So here's another map that can either go really good or really bad. Now thankfully I had my teammate to help me out because while Nita is technically a damage dealer, she's not going to be doing as much damage to other brawlers as she is to the vault. You can of course use her gadget to sort of exploit that damage, but it's not going to be a whole lot. And besides, we actually ended up cornering the entire team here, so any extra damage we would have done would have been on accident. I think that previous match was a bit too short, so I decided to throw in a second one. This time we're actually suffering a bit because I was left to defend one side on my own. But I guess these players have tunnel vision or something because they completely ignored me and just attacked the vault instead. And because of that I was able to make it to their side and deal tons of damage. But the majority of the credit should definitely go to my team because they did the most damage overall. Alright, next up we'll be playing on this map called GG 2.0. And that title does not lie because we absolutely clapped the living cheeks out of this team. Like for some reason they all went to one side until they realized, oh crap, our vault is under attack, until it's too late. Now granted they did pull up and do quite a lot of damage to us, but our barley just finished them off. Alright, I wasn't satisfied with that match, so let's do it again. And would you look at that, we're going up against another Chuck. Now I know a lot of players swear by saying that Chuck or even Jesse are the greatest brawlers to use on Heist. And although I do agree that they can be really powerful, they're not really all that flexible. For example, the first map that I played on, supposedly Chuck does really well in it because it has a straight path to the other side which allows him to move much faster. But for my experience, especially playing Nita, this is rarely the case because most of the time Chuck is more preoccupied placing down his post instead of defending. For example, here's the 4th map called Safe Zone, which I forgot to record. And throughout this match, Chuck tries to lay down his post as much as possible without really defending. And because of that, I was able to make my way to the right side and attack from there. So as you can see, while Nita doesn't necessarily have the greatest range or DPS, she can at least hold her ground long enough to get her super ready. And that's one of the best things about Nita, because as soon as you deploy Bruce, I think that's his name, all of a sudden the pressure is off your chest and the only thing you need to worry about is getting another super ready. So those were all of the Heist maps that I wanted to show, and my opinion has not changed. I think Nita is still the best brawler to use on Heist. I know that there are more than a dozen other maps, but I didn't want this video to be like 10 minutes long. Also, I wanted to give a big thank you to everyone who watched my YouTube short from a few days ago. I did not expect it to reach 6,000 views, which may not seem like a whole lot to some, but to me it means everything. Anyways, have a good day.